Lately, I've been thinking, I want you to be happier, I want you to be happier. When the morning comes, and we see what we've become. In the cold light of day, we're a flame in the wind, not the fire that we begun. Every argument, every word we...
I never thought I'd say this, but there's a hill worse than the mile of road in Newport. Anna's house is completely off the grid, which is pretty cool, I think. So I did yoga today, and it's all a part of my ebook that I have created. My ebook is not just like, you know, your standard gym workout. It's meditation, it's yoga, it's hill sprints, it's heavy weights, it's high intensity, it's everything all in one, mixed with a little bit of life coaching, mixed with a little bit of realty, mixed with a lot of love. Good morning, it's day 2 today, and I'm going to go to the waterfall, and then tonight I'm going to meet up with Loyal. This is the realness, never makeup, always looking like I'm half alive, half not sure. Anyway, so making myself a coffee, and 90% of the time I do bulletproof coffees. My attempt at bulletproof coffee, coconut oil, because we don't have MCT oil up here, so I'm just swapping for the coconut. Cultured butter. So it has to be grass-fed cultured butter. It can't just be your crappy little butter. You shouldn't eat crappy butter anyway. Grass-fed cultured butter is the one that has the most amount of vitamins in it for you.
It's easier when we start. It's better with the lights off. Please just steal my touch. Don't go overthinking.
So I also don't drink milk. I've just never liked the taste of it. I don't know. I've never really drank milk ever. So when I started putting the butter in my coffee, I was like, fuck yeah, I don't have to do black coffee, because I'm not too much of a fan of black coffee.
Need to feel like you're still on my side.
To Minion Falls. I only nearly crashed 3 times trying to put my invisible clutch in and change my invisible gears. The ground, and I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners, past, present and emerging, and thank them for allowing me to be in this gorgeous rainforest.
Let me escape in your arms. Baby, I'm yours. Baby, I'm yours. Love don't come easy at all. I miss you so much. I miss you so much. Tell me, is this freedom, baby? Chasing after danger, making my heart race. Whoa, maybe if the stars align, maybe if our worlds collide, maybe on the dark side we could be together, maybe in a million miles, on a highway through the skies. Someday soon we'll be together. He was a dreamer at heart, chasing the stars, chasing the stars. Wings spread to the sun.
Minion Falls was incredible. Can you... Oh, I'm so red. I ended up hiking, I think 10 Ks in total, and it was an absolute hike. Like, look how sweaty I am. Obviously a rainforest, you know, it's nice and humid, and it was really, really beautiful. I turned my phone off for a lot of the time. I tried to swim in the waterfall, but I was just like, nah. It was a bit too black and a bit too deep. I couldn't touch the bottom, so it was one of those unrealistic fears of a shark just popping up and eating you, or a crocodile, which we don't have down here. I completely managed to fall over in front of 4 people as well. Classy, Aaron. Classy.
Oh, when I'm on the East Coast, feeling like the West Coast, pouring out the Henny in my cup, rolling down the window, rolling up some Indo. Think I need to sip that liquid love. I'ma do it my way, like every day is Friday. No, it ain't my fault, you can't keep up. No, it's not a problem. If you at the bottom, I can be the one to lift you up. Oh, say something I don't know.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about my chronic fatigue. I know I've been posting it over on my Instagram page at Traveling PT. So I was diagnosed with glandular fever, pneumonia and chronic fatigue going on 3 years ago now. And it was like a really hard stage of my life. Like everything had crashed. I had put on about 15 kilos, which I've only just started to lose again. And it was a point in my life that I was not in a great situation. Like I literally lost everything in my life. I lost all my friends, I lost a lot of my family, I lost the house I was living in. Everything fell apart. My body took on that chronic illness and I didn't really know what it meant to have chronic fatigue. There were times of my life back then where I would wake up from 8 hours of sleep. I would be able to stay awake for half an hour and my body would shut down on me and I'd have to go back to sleep for 16 hours again. So I had days off work. I had to limit the length of my driving. Also working up on the Central Coast, which is an hour and a half on a good day drive. And so driving got quite dangerous for me. So there were times in the morning, so I would get up at 3:30, 3:45 to leave for work. And I'd have to be up at the Central Coast by 5:30 in the morning. My body would shut down. So I don't know if you guys know that feeling when you're so tired that you're like watching a movie and your eyes are literally closing on you. So that was me when I was driving, and it got to the point where I actually had to close that class down because I could no longer drive. And it got to a breaking point where I just said I can't do this anymore. And I had to change. I was also struggling with chronic depression. So how did I change? Well, I started to look at my diet, made the decision to cut alcohol out of my life. That was huge for me because I loved to drink. I then made the decision to try and cut all the junk food out of my life. Again, that was really hard for me because I have an addictive kind of personality where I love, things like junk food and alcohol and sugar and stuff like that. I made the really, really tough decision to stop exercising completely. And I had to do this for quite a long time. And that was really difficult for me because I came from a very sporty background. I was a swimmer my whole life, my whole teen life. I was a dancer. I used to love exercise. I fell in love with the health and fitness industry when I was 19. So for me to tell myself that I had to stop exercising and let my body recover was super hard. Obviously my body wasn't functioning properly. And I had a lot of adrenal problems. I had liver problems as well. I had gut health problems. I had everything. Like my skin is 100 times better now to what it was when I was diagnosed with this. I was riddled with pimples all up and down my chin and down my neck a little bit and across my forehead. I used to cop a lot of criticism from people who would say, how can you be a personal trainer? I mean, look at you, you don't exercise. And I was like, you don't know what's happening in my life. It's quite a fight for me back then. Mentally, for what I did for a job, what I wanted to do for a job, and for what I was doing in my current life. So I started to slowly exercise 1 day a week. There were days where I would exercise and then my body would just be, that would be it for 2 weeks. It couldn't recover itself. No idea how else to explain the feeling. It was like my body felt dirty on the inside. My eyes were burning all the time. And my entire body felt like it was dirty, which I later discovered was my liver not detoxing my body correctly. I started eating and drinking things towards helping my liver regain itself. And I started to notice a huge difference. Struggled if you're from my BB group. So I run a women's gym in Woy Woy and in Narrabeen. So if you're listening to this, you'll know the struggle I've been through. I decided that I needed to cut gluten-based and heavy carb-based foods out of my diet and also the majority of dairy out of my diet. And when I started to do this, I struggled a lot because convenience, right? It's so much easier to wake up and pop a piece of toast in the toaster and whack some butter on it and off you go. It's so much easier to go and buy a sandwich from the shops. You know, everything that we eat has gluten in it because it's convenient and it's cheap to make. So when I tried to cut that out, I had a huge battle that went on for a year or so. And if you're in my group, you'll remember me saying I've been gluten-free for a month, and then I'd crash back down, and then I'd be gluten-free for 2 months, and I'd have a crash back down again. I'm finally at that point in my life where I don't need gluten in my diet anymore, and I don't feel the need to eat it out of convenience either. I'm more than happy to wait until I get home to cook up some vegetables and things like that. Did actually play a massive role. Now, I'm not at all advising everyone to do this because there's such a fiasco around it. So don't listen to my advice on gluten. I did it for my own health reasons. You may very well be able to eat it perfectly fine and never have any adverse effects from it. But that was what I did. I won't go into too much detail today. I'm going to spread this out over my entire series, so you'll have to keep watching to find out more. So basically, there's this really fine line with chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue. And you really need to learn to listen to your body. Listening to your body, it's such a hard thing, right? Because if you had said that years ago to me, I would have been like, I listen to my body. I know when it wants carbs and proteins and when it needs to be fed and stuff like that. But it's a whole new level when you have chronic fatigue. So the reason I also feel like I've got a bit of adrenal dysfunction is because of when I'm emotionally stressed. So with my work, with my beautiful ladies, I try to take on as much of their pressures and take it away from them so they relax a little bit more. But when I do that kind of stuff, I don't leave room emotionally for myself to debrief and to disengage and things like that. And sometimes I take so much on so quickly that I don't realize what I've done. And you know, when you sit down at the end of the night, my whole body, my glands are throbbing, and my insides, not my muscles on my outsides, but my mental capacity and my insides are so exhausted. And I take that as my cortisol levels are extremely high, and that's coming from my adrenal dysfunction. I was to do a heavy weighted session, which I no longer can do like I used to, purely for the fact my body cannot handle it anymore. And it's quite sad because it's what I preach when it comes to weight loss. So weights are huge, but for me, I can't do them anymore because my body can't handle them. And so that's why I hold on to a lot of fat still. I can no longer utilize what I preach to lose my fat. And cardio and high intensity and stuff like that isn't 100% for my body. Like it just raises my cortisol levels again, and then I hold my weight. So I'm still in a contradiction of I need to exercise, but the exercise that I've got to do doesn't like my body. The one that I want to do also doesn't like my body, so I'm still trying to find my happy medium. So for everyone who is wondering why I am a personal trainer who doesn't look like a personal trainer, there's your reasons of what it's thriving off to lose the weight and to gain muscle, but also not to stress my body out so much that I hold on to the weight. It's so hard, like nobody understands. So there's that fine line where I've been up since 4 a.m. for work and I need to do a 12-hour day, and I feel that, I don't know how to describe the feeling, you know, that dirtiness, that throbbing in my body. I know that I need to stop. I don't stop. And I mean by stop, if I don't sit down and just don't think, and you know, if I don't stop the exercise or the movements that I'm doing, then tomorrow, I don't even know how to describe the feeling of tiredness that you get from it. Like, people don't see this, they don't understand, because like, you look completely fine on the outside, but on the inside, you just want to give up on your life. Like, you don't understand how bad it gets. You know, I can go for a 40-minute walk, jog, but if I go for a 40-minute run and then pump out weights and my muscles are aching the next day, I can guarantee you that I cannot train for 3 days, because waking up in the morning, my eyes literally won't open. I get sometimes when I do that, because I get really enthusiastic and I just think, fuck it, I just want to be normal again and I just want to train. you know, I do that to myself, and then the next morning, I don't know if anyone's ever had like sleep paralysis. That quite frequently when I've overtrained or I've overworked and my body is crashing on me, I get sleep paralysis. It's like sometimes lifting my arm is an effort, and it's just horrible. I had to change the way I worked, and I tell you now, financially it was not feasible, and I think a lot of my family members thought I was lazy, but it was do that, work that way, that was eventually going to help recover you. Keep going the way you're going and end up committing suicide because your body's not functioning properly and you're suffering chronically from depression because you can't do anything with your life anymore. So I did. I took the slower approach, and it was really, really difficult for me because I'm a worker and I love to work. But obviously it was something that I needed to do. So there's how I got my chronic fatigue, the emotions behind it for the first year or two, and how I started to transition myself into a better life. So I'm going to leave it there. In my next vlog, I'm going to talk about body image and how I decided to overcome what had happened with my body. Just off to do some work with Anna on the land. I'll try and vlog it.
Babe, don't make a sound. 2 a.m. love, gotta keep it down. Don't wait around for a signal now. Give me some verb, I ain't talking now. You wanna ride in the 6, you wanna dine in the 6. But when I lean for the kiss, you said I'll probably send you some pics. And I'm like, hell nah, been waiting too long. Hell nah, I want that cruel love. Hell nah, been waiting too long. Hell nah, I want that cruel love. Body on my, losing all my innocence. Yeah, body on my, finding all my innocence. Yeah, body on my, losing all my innocence. Yeah, body on my, finding all my innocence. Yeah, body on my, losing all my innocence. Yeah, body.
I'm just about to pack my bags and head off. I'm so sad. I'm really enjoying this place. Look at it. Isn't it stunning? Alright, bush girl no more. Just brushed my hair for the first time in a week. That's the life I've been living, and it is fantastic. So I really recommend, if you're someone who lives in the city all the time and you're someone who is in a constant state of fight and flight, is to put your phone down and go and enjoy some beautiful scenery. Yes, I was on my phone, but I had it on airplane mode a lot. So like I'm just trying to brush it out. I was still filming, but you know, I'm usually on my phone for work about 5 hours a day, if not longer. And over the course of my stay here, I've probably been on my phone for an hour maybe, if that. And the rest of the time it's just been like really enjoying this beautiful scenery, sipping on some tea, laying in the hammock, traveling around the land, going for runs, went down into the markets, you know, I did everything, and it's just been really, really nice to get away from my phone for a little bit. So I'm off to destination number 2 today. I'm spending my entire day in an airport. That is my fault for being so unorganized. For some reason I flew from Byron back to Sydney International, out of Sydney, when I could have just gone to freaking Coolangatta or whatever it is. The things, I usually get someone to do it all for me because I'm not good at booking flights.